Hi everyone, I just wanted to make a quick video with a housing update and share some of the lessons that I've learned so far about 3.5 weeks into my time here in Spain. So let's jump back to right before I moved to Spain. Let's say 2 weeks out, a week out, people would ask me, hey, do you know where you're staying? And I would have to say, no, but I'm going to figure it out. And people would say, you are nuts. You are crazy. And they were absolutely right. So a big theme of this video is going to be don't do what I did. And I'm going to tell you a lot of the mistakes that I made. So my original plan was that after I got my visa, I was going to take a scouting trip. And part of that scouting trip would have also been going to Madrid with my empadronamiento. Oh my God, it's embarrassing that I can't pronounce that word. But I would take care of my biometrics and get my TIE. But also I would do a lot of apartment searching. And then it just got to the point where you realize that getting an appointment for biometrics isn't going to happen. So I figured I will just move to Valencia and then take care of the biometrics when I get here, which I still haven't done. So I skipped the whole house hunting trip. That's a big mistake. I definitely do not recommend doing that. And so I thought when I was in Seattle, I would try doing apartment hunting online from there. That's another mistake. It is really hard to search for apartments online when you're not in the location. And a lot of these different companies like Idealista have made it easier, but it's, in my opinion, just still not practical. It's very, very difficult. So again, that was just a big mistake. But really what it came down to is that I'd gotten my visa around May and I was trying to schedule my planning trip for June or July, and that wasn't happening. And it was really getting to the point where I need to get out of the United States. Things were getting nuts. Things were getting crazy. Everything was getting more and more expensive. There was really no point to me sticking around. And so I made my initial departure date in August to help out some friends with some stuff. I didn't move until September. But anyhow, I did have that sort of let me just get out of here. I do not recommend that people do that, but I did it. So anyhow, let's talk about my experiences here in Spain. All right, so I arrive in Spain and I have an Airbnb. And so I actually would recommend don't go the Airbnb route. Again, I was getting down to the wire, getting down to last minute. So I decided just to rent an Airbnb. And there are two problems with that. You will find that a lot of times Airbnbs in Spain, they don't give you the access code like they have in the United States where you just punch something into the door or punch something into a little box that has the keys. I had to meet somebody in order to get it. And after almost 24 hours of traveling with my cat and especially having the hold up at Valencia Airport, trying to get approval to leave the airport with Bella, I was tired. I was frazzled. I discovered that I screwed up my phone. I'll make another video about my phone, but my phone would only work when I had internet access. And so having to meet somebody to get the keys for the Airbnb was just another additional hassle that I did not need after that long day of travel. The other downside of the Airbnb in this particular case, this was an interior apartment, and this is something that we're not used to in the United States. Just about every place that you live in the US has windows facing the outside. When you start looking for places to stay in Spain, they will make a distinction that, yes, this is exterior. And at first I couldn't understand what that means. And it literally means that you have windows looking to the outside, like you can see over my shoulder here. I mean, there's a much bigger window, and especially in the bedrooms as well. But having windows that go to the outside is not a common thing. And by having that Airbnb for the first week without those exterior windows, that seriously hampered my recovery from jet lag. And I think it also contributed to me getting sick. And so I just did not have a good Airbnb experience. And so I get here, I've got the Airbnb, and then I had to find, where am I going to stay longer? And so that's where I found this place. And I love this as a temporary residence. I found this on Housing Anywhere. And one thing I like about Housing Anywhere is that they've got the 48-hour turnaround from the time that you say, hey, I would like to rent this place. Then the owner or the landlord has 48 hours to say yay or nay. And it's primarily based on your ability to pay, which is good for a person like me. I'll talk more about having a work contract in a moment. But anyhow, I landed this place. And so I'm very happy with it. And I wish I could film more videos here, but I think the place that I am moving into is going to have some wonderful shooting locations as well. But anyhow, so I got this place for just under a month to give myself time to find a longer term place. And I was not looking as hard as I should have been, which is a bit of a regret. But anyhow, I'm using Idealista a lot for locating places during that time. And what I realized was that, okay, two different mistakes I made. First off, when I was filling out my profile, I wrote it in English. And I think that was one of the reasons that people did not respond to me, because not everyone in Spain speaks English. Imagine that. And also just has that sort of feel that you are not a person who is trying to fit in. So that was mistake number one. That was really dumb on my part. But the bigger problem with Idealista is that I was upfront, where it's like, hey, I'm semi-retired. I am living here. I'm here on a golden visa. And so I don't have a work contract. And a lot of landlords are not comfortable with that. And they just don't understand, how could you be here without having a job? How can you be here without a contract? How do I know that I can trust you without you having a steady income and knowing that you're going to be bringing in so many thousands or hundreds of euros a month? And so that was one of the downsides that I was having with Idealista. And so it was getting to the point where it's like, hey, I only have 7, 8, 9 more days in this temporary place. I need to find a place to live. And so that's when I was going back to Housing Anywhere. Is that the name? Or am I suddenly drawing a blank on it? Yeah, Housing Anywhere, and also Spot a Home. And with Spot a Home, it's very similar to Housing Anywhere, except they give the landlord 24 hours to accept your offer. So again, it's based on your ability to pay rather than you having a work contract. So I was looking at a lot of different places, especially in Rusafa, pretty close to here, very close to the busy areas, tourist areas, and which is where I wanted to be. But anyhow, I was looking on there for places as well, when finally on Idealista, I found a place that would accept me, a place I loved, right near the beach. I wasn't planning on living by the beach, but hey, if you can live by the beach, if you can live right on the Mediterranean, why wouldn't you? But I found the place in Cabanyal, and I explained the situation where it's like, I'm not on a work contract, and luckily the agent that I was working with did an excellent job of explaining the situation to the landlord. And by the way, we're still working everything out. We have not signed the contract yet, and I need to be moving in there in just a handful of days. But anyhow, it's sort of like, okay, on the TV show Community, which is absolutely brilliant, they have the term humble brag, and so I'm about to use a humble brag, and it's very similar to one that I remember reading in the book Girl Boss. And so in the book Girl Boss, which is, kind of worth a read in a way that you're just like, ooh, a bit of cringe. But anyhow, in the book Girl Boss, the writer, the person behind it, talks about how she made all this money and she wanted to buy a Porsche, but they would not sell a Porsche to her because she had bad credit. And she's like, oh, my credit is so bad, I had to pay for my Porsche in cash. And that's a prime example of a humble brag. Well, I'm about to give a humble brag, which is a bit of a first world problem. Here I was in Spain without a work contract trying to rent a place. And I love this place. It's a heck of a lot less expensive than the United States. And so I said that I will pay 6 months upfront. I will pay 12 months upfront if that will help me get the place. And so that helped the owner, the landlord, agree to rent the place to me without having a work contract. So I just want to end this with 3 things that I would have done differently if I could do it all over again. First off, I would not have skipped the scouting trip. I would have actually come out here. It would be great to spend at least a week, probably more like 2 weeks in advance, walking around, getting to know the area, doing different paperwork things before moving out here for real. Second thing, I would have skipped the Airbnb. Instead of doing Airbnb, I would have gone right to Housing Anywhere or Spot a Home. And the third thing that I would have done differently is for an initial place, I would have gotten that for 2, maybe 3 months as part of the adjustment process and trying to find a permanent long-term home. So there you have it. That is my update on my housing. I hope that helps you. And again, if I can stress anything, don't do what I did.